Yeah, good morning. 11 Kislev. This shir is being dedicated to the Elias Neshama of Yisrael ben Yamin ben Leah Gittel. His Neshama should rise up, and the hashpah of his Neshama should enlighten all of us.
It's Yisroel Benjamin ben Abraham. Alav Hashem. Ben Abraham. Alav Hashem.
I mean, that's his father's name. Is that what you're saying?
Yes. Yes. Okay. After Patira, use of father's name.
This Hayom Yom, we don't have anything here except noting that there appears in the text emendations to the Siddur. The Alter Rebbe, there are a few versions of the Alter Rebbe's Siddur. One is called Siddur Bedach, which is Siddur Bedach means Divra Elokim Chaim. And the Frierdiker Rebbe's father, Rabbi Rashav, amended and commented on these things, and they are here in Hebrew, but they're not here in English. As he says, they have meaning only in the Hebrew original. So we'll leave that up to research of each individual. I mean, if you look at them, you're going to have to go to the Alter Rebbe Siddur and then to the Birurim of the Rebbe Rashad. Lessons in Tanya. Bottom of page 345. And Lakuti Amorim. Okay, Lakuti Amorim. Yes, page 316. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines down from the top. The Bechinas Neshama Shehi Elakus. If you're reading from right to left, and that's where we're starting. So we're exploring a very refined, not subtle, but certainly esoteric distinction between two kinds of chokhmah. There's the chokhmah of Seder Histalshalis, which is the first of the spheros of Seder Histalshalis. And remember, the Seder Histalshalis is in the form of the Odom, right? Chabad, Agas, Nahim. And Odom is the agent of implementation for the halachas. The halachas also represent Chabad of the Eibishter. And the Chokhmah, we're going to focus particularly on the origin point, Chokhmah. There is Chokhmah, as it's the Reishis HaHistalshalis, that is the beginning of the form of the human and of the form of worlds. And then there's Chokhmah as it is the Reishis, it's the beginning of the God's halachas. And to understand this, we have to hark back to something we learned before, which is that every sphera has three general components: the Panemius, the Emsa, the middle, and then the bottom, and the Chitzonius. And so the Chokhmah, which has to do with halachas, that level of Chokhmah is the Panemius of Chokhmah, because it's a direct expressions of God's will. So a simple way of looking at this is that the halachas express what God wants, and that's embedded in the Panemius of God's Chokhmah, coming from his will, which is the bottom, the externality of the crown. And then there is the human, who's the implementer of what God wants. So there's the Chokhmah, which is expression of God's will, which is the halachos. And then there's the implementer of God's will, which is begins with Chokhmah of the Seder Histalshalis. He creates worlds, and he creates Odom in the worlds through the Seder Histalshalis from Chabad down, Chokhmah on down. But the panemius of all that is to bring the halachas, particularly halachas, down to the world of Maisa. So there's Chabad and there's Chabad. That's what we're really going to be saying here. There's Chabad and there's Chabad. So this difference is the Hatam. The reason we can talk about these Chabads and the different kinds of Chabad, Mishum, the Chabad de Asiya, the Chabad of the world of Asiya, right? Every world recapitulates the 10 spheros. which is the Chabad, the Bechinas Neshama, right? Chabad is the upper level of the triad Chabad, Chagas, Nahi. So it's the Neshama in the structure of Neshama, Ruach, and Nefesh, right? So the Chabad of Neshama, the Chabad, the Nefesh, Ruach, V'Teldei Seichim. So Chabad of the Seder Histalshalis is the source of the life force of Chabad of Nefesh and Ruach, those two lower levels of the soul, the Toldoi Seichen and their offspring, the Havu Soson, the Hishavoson, and they're coming into being Me'ayin Leyesh. Im Toldoi Seichen, with all of their offspring, Ad Seifa Hasiyah, until you get the recapitulation of the Seder Histalshalis down to the world of Asiyah, which is our Oretz, Bechol Tzavah, which is the earth, and all of their hosts. That's Chabad of Seder Histalshalis. Avil Chabad the halachas, the Chabad that pertains to the halachas, b'tamehim, concerning their reasons, and which is not to be a source of created being, but to represent God's will. Sheba Malchus the Abriya v'Yetzirah, as that descends into Malchus, Abriya, and Yetzirah. Abriya is the Talmud, and Yetzirah is the Mishnah. We've learned that in earlier parts of Tanya. So, Inyan HaChochma Tikkun Partzufei De'Tzilas, and the purpose of this halacha is to rectify the Seder Histalshalis of the world of descent from Chabad to Malchus as it recapitulates in each and every world. Remember, this world is the world of Tikkun. Tikkun means rectification. And we are the rectifiers, that is, we Jewish people here on earth, and the ammunition, the arsenal that we bring, or the instrumentation that we bring to that world is the halachas. So this is the Inyan of Chochmah, the Tikkun Partzufei De'Tzilas. This is the Chochmah as it is meant to bring a rectification to the form of Atzilus and on down. Shebehen, and these Partzufim, Toluyim Kol Taimei HaMitzvahs, these Partzufim, these parts of his face, these various faces, that various manifestations of godliness, all depend on the tameh, the reasons for, and the inner dimensions of the halachas, the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs aseh, b'chinas chasodim, the positive mitzvahs have a connection with and a direct correspondence with the chasodim. The chasodim is the right arm, right, of the supernal man, and the right arm of the human down here below. And loisa say b'hagavura, and the negative, which is the left arm, which is the gavuras. So we have halachas which say, do this, that's the chasadim, and we have halachas which say, don't do this, which is the gavura, holding back. And therefore, also, when these Chabad of the mitzvahs descend into the level of creation, of created beings, Malchus de Bria Yetzirah, whether it's in Malchus de Bria and Yetzirah, the Bechinas Neshama Dafka, which is the level of the Shama of the world, the Panemius of the world, Shehuma Kalim de Atzilus, the Panemius of the world comes from the vessels of Atzilus, V'lei b'chochma nefesh and ruach, and the Panemius is not in a level, the Panemius is not nefesh and ruach. In other words, back to the three levels of the soul, Neshama is the level of the soul which is, if you could say such a thing, closest to God. And then you have Nefesh and Ruach and Nefesh and Ruach, which are lower. Even though this Chabad, this is the Chabad that's invested in the created worlds, Abriya, Yetzirah, the Bechinas Neshama, and this Chabad, which comes down into the lower worlds, Bria, if you can take the three worlds, Bria is Neshama, Yetzirah is Ruach, and Asiyah is Nefesh. Yeah. They're very high, my son. They're very, very high levels. And they're much higher levels, of course, over Bechinas Malchus, right? Because Chabad of a world and Nahi of the world are higher than Malchus of any world. They're higher than Malchus de Bria Yetzirah, the Neshama of the Neshama. Nevertheless, Chabad of the Neshama, which is Makor leChabad de Bria, which is the Chabad of Neshama, again, the highest level of the soul, which is a source for the Chabad of Bria, which is the next level of the soul, Yitzira, and down all the way to the lowest, down into the lower worlds. Shabachinish Nefesh Ruach, when you get to the level of Nefesh and Ruach, Shehein HaMalachim. These are this level of, in the spiritual worlds, this descent of Seder Histalshalis, Chabad of Seder Histalshalis. This is the whole point of this, the difference between Chabad of Seder Histalshalis and Chabad of the Mitzvahs. So this Chabad of the Seder Histalshalis creates first spiritual beings, which are called the Malachim. And says, Lo kashim in there. Don't ask a question on these two different kinds of Chabad that we're talking about. So he uses a mashal to give us an idea of the difference between Chabad of creation and Chabad of mitzvahs. The angels and the created souls, they're only like a seminal drop, a drop which is drawn down from the Chabad of the level of Neshama, Yesod Zoh, into Yesod. It comes down into the channel of Yesod, of Zeir Anpin. You have the 7 midos, right? Hesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzachot in Yesod. That drop drips all the way down into Yesod. And it's given over to Nukva, which is Malchus. And from there is a birth. Even if you're going to say, that these souls of the angels, they come from the Oris HaKelim de Nukva Tzilas. Yes, they're sourced way above. But they go through a process of descent which contracts them and brings them into a lower and lower level, and their expression is lower until it finally becomes physicalized. So that's in other language we used before, the chatzonius of Chabad. That's Hesedish or Stalshalis, because the externality of something can reach the panemius of the next level down, and then that goes through a flow from panemius to emsod to middle, and then down, etc., etc. Aval Atzmas Chabad, the essence of Chabad, of the Neshama, which flows out into the 6 sides, literally the 6 midos of Zocher in the Keva. Zocher the 6th, and you have Zah, which is Chesed, Gevurah, Tiferes, Netzachot, Yesod, and then Malchus. V'sham Shita, and there is that 6 is a different kind of 6. It's not the 6 of creation. It's Heim Shita Sidrei Mishnah v'Gemara. It's the 6 orders of the Seder of Mishnah and Gemara. So he's distinguishing here the 6 levels of descent of the so-called drop, which gives birth to worlds, world upon worlds upon worlds, versus the 6 Siddur of the Mishnah, which are the panemius of Chachma, which has to do with what we spoke at the beginning, that the halachas are the representations of God's will, and the whole Seder Histalshalis, including us in it, are just only instruments for delivering God's will, which is the halachas. And that's today's Tanya. All right? I mean, that's in different language. I mean, that's the story. We just as an instrument for the delivery of God's will.
Hi. I have a question where it says this is lo kashem midei. Right after that, where it says there's no question, here's my question.
You know what he means, lo kashem midei? What is that saying? Don't ask
that it's clear. No?
Huh?
That it's clear?
No. What? No. He says, don't. What's he saying? You might have a question now. What might be your question? What might be your question?
Oh, okay. Well, here's my question.
Well, okay, but just understand what his question is that you might have, which is, what's the difference between these two chachmas? And that's okay. Go ahead.
So that fits with what I'm asking you. In that next 3 words, the be'emes hamalachim v'haneshemot.
Yeah.
They're 2 separate things. I don't think he's talking about the neshamas of the malachim. He's talking about malachim and neshamas.
both of them, and
Correct. But
both of
then I think it goes on to say something about the malachim, and then it says at the bottom, aval atzmus chabad de neshamos, to separate that from the
them misled.
chabad of the malachim.
This is where he's distinguishing between the Chabad that has to do with creating angels and the neshamas, but here he's focusing on the neshamas because
right.
talking about us as human beings. I mean, our ability to deliver the halachas, the neshamas Chabad and the neshama, that come from neshamas the zun, v'sham shita siddur mishnah. So the neshamas of Chabad, let's read it. Aval atzmis Chabad, not the atzmis of the Seder Histalshalish, which gives this rise to men, but the atzmis of Chabad of the neshama.
Correct, right.
The spashid bevav kutsav is the zun, that spreads out in zun, and there, that atzmis Chabad, that's the key, that's the subject. Chabad, not Chutzonius Chabad, but essence of Chabad. Where do you find essence of Chabad? In the Mishnah, in the halachas.
Okay, yeah, no, that's just the clarification I was looking for.
Okay. Any others? Thank you. All right. Always over and over this whole thing in very, of course, esoteric language written for people who understand probably better than we do or I do. Comes back to the simple point. Masahu Aiker. The deed is the main thing. It's the root. Mega Iker. It's the root. Again, the simple way I take it, the whole root of why he created in the first place was to make his will manifest, right? His will drops into the panemius of Chokhmah, and we, as I put it, are only, we're very important, we're the delivery mechanism for what he really wants. And what he really wants is expressed in halacha, ma'aseh, mitzvahs. Till we meet again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.